After a down year in 2012, Auburn football is hoping to get back on the map this season. Today was the Tigers' final day of fall camp, and from here on out, the team will focus on how to beat Washington State in Week 1. A major factor for the win Saturday will be the Tigers' defense.
Putting points on the board is important in any sport, but almost more significant than that, keeping the other team from doing it. That will be Auburn's challenge this year, especially giving up more than 5,000 total yards last season to their opponents. And keeping teams out of the end zone begins with the returners on defense.
Older guys, came back, I think, at least as well prepared, if not better. A couple of them lost some weight that we felt like would help them, and it did. I think that, from a standpoint of mental assignments, they've been really good.
Defensive coordinator Ellis Johnson says he hasn't worked out the depth chart quite yet, but is getting a feel for who his go-to guys will be for the Auburn defense.
I know which ones can run around and pass scale, and I know which ones can, do drills and things, but until we actually put them in good live situations, sometimes a player that doesn't look real cute in a drill, he's just a good natural player. Sometimes a player who can do all the right things, when you walk through the barrels and go out and run it 5 minutes later, he's good, but then you run it 5 days later and you can't remember. So we'll just have to see who surfaces.
Head coach Gus Malzahn said today that camp ended on a good note and the team showed the best rhythm they've had this offseason.
And the Tigers will kick off its season next Saturday against Washington State. I continue my Auburn football coverage tomorrow with more from new head coach Gus Malzahn. Malzahn is no stranger to the program. In 2010, he was the top assistant that helped lead the Tigers to a national championship. From there, he went to coach at Arkansas State and led the program to a Sun Belt Conference title. Now he's back at Auburn with the head job and ready to turn things around. So Auburn the rest of this week, and then next week I'll count down to Alabama's kickoff. The Crimson Tide hoping to keep the title run going. And speaking of Bama, Saturday morning, Alabama cornerback Geno Smith was arrested and charged with DUI. Today, head coach Nick Saban announced he'll be suspended for Game 1 against Virginia Tech. Smith was at practice today for the Crimson Tide. He played in all 13 games as a freshman last season and was the projected starter at nickelback for 2013. Saban said Smith has never had a discipline problem before.
I know you're going to ask me, so I'm going to tell you now. Geno Smith will be suspended for the first game. He's got other things to do in-house that if he does, then he'll be okay to play after that. We've never had an issue with Geno. He's an excellent person. He's never been in trouble here before, never been in my office for anything. But I think this is something that everybody should learn from. When you make a bad choice, sometimes the consequences of that choice can really have a negative effect. So, some of these guys don't have enough foresight to understand cause and effect, but, Geno has been a really good person in the program and just made a bad choice, bad decision, made several of them. So now he's got consequences for it, and we don't have any other comment about that.
And some new updates for the South Alabama Jags. Head coach Joey Jones named his starting QB over the weekend. Taking the first snap in 2013 will be returning starter Ross Matheny. I texted Joey Jones earlier today, and he told me backup QB Brandon Bridge